The movie starts with Kate waking up from a scary dream from a phone call from one of her teammates, Weston. Today is Kate's birthday and she's pretty excited about turning 21. And to give you a little context into Kate's life, she's lived all her life on a spaceship as Earth has become completely uninhabitable when the temperature of the sun rose to such an extent that life on Earth became impossible, and 7 giant spaceships left planet Earth in search of a new planet to habitate, but they haven't really found anything yet. Kate remembers all the stories about Earth and how it used to be, and the only thing that keeps her going now is the trainings that she has with her team. Weston, the loudmouth of the group, makes fun of Kate for slowing them down, but they all get told by their superior, Captain Hunter, to be able to focus as they only have 2 minutes to complete their mission. Most of Kate's team gets taken down and she was the only one left, but she couldn't figure out where most of the shots were coming from and she also loses. Here we realize that they're on a simulator, and it's the closest thing that Kate has to ever feeling like she's on Earth. Their captain tells them that their simulation didn't really go that bad and that there's always room for improvement, and when Weston asks the captain what all the training was for, as Weston thinks that they'll never need it because they never leave the ship, Kate tells him that it's preparation for when they find a new planet and to be ready for whatever it may be that they may encounter on their new planet. But Weston just makes fun of her and walks away, as nobody really believes that they'll ever find a habitable planet. Kate was already pretty upset, but the day was not over and she still had a lot of training to do, and during one of her trainings, her captain calls her out and tells her that she's actually one of the smallest from the group and she needs to start using her knees and also maintain some kind of distance from her adversary. And this didn't really sit well with Kate, as she doesn't really like to be called out in front of the others, and even though their training was done for the day, she goes to blow off some steam with the punching bag. Her captain follows her and gives her some advice, and also pushes her to the limit when sparring. And when searching for distant planets and signals, Kate actually comes across a transmission signal from a wormhole far away. The transmission was directed at their ship, Columbus 7, and their captain was very excited, as most of them have never even been on a planet, and they've been looking for this opportunity for about 37 years, and the captain makes a small group of a scouting party to go down to that planet and investigate it, and if the planet is breathable and habitable, it could be the new place that they'll call home. The team immediately sets course to the new planet that was transmitting the signal, and as they were going through the wormhole to get to the planet, Kate and the rest of the scouting party were pretty excited to see this new planet, and they asked their captain what it was like to be on a planet and to ride a horse and to really live as human beings should. And as the captain was recounting the one and only time that he actually rode a horse, the ship notifies him about a proximity alert, and he tells everybody to hold on and tries to navigate through the debris, but as soon as they exited the wormhole, their ship is torn in half, and everything is pulled down by the gravity of the new planet, including Kate and her team. They all fall from the wreckage, and Kate's automatic parachute takes over and she lands in the ocean, but as she was falling from the sky, she's noticed by the locals of the planet. We see them getting into an argument about what to do with these outsiders, but apparently, their law demands that all outsiders be killed without exception. One of them tries to oppose the leader, but the leader draws his gun and asks if he dares to oppose him. And our scene then shifts to Kate regaining consciousness in the ocean and then washing up to shore. She wakes up to a horse that was next to her, and she begins to look around at the very unfamiliar terrain, and she scans it with her device to find out where her teammates are. She gets a distress call from Haley, one of her teammates, who urges her that they're taking on water and asks for help. And as Kate was trying to make it to Haley's location, the debris from their crashed ship was actually breaking atmosphere in that moment, and she had to navigate through all the chaos and fire. She gets to her friend in time and takes her out of the water, and she finds the rest of her team in complete disarray and shocked, and some of them were actually heavily injured, and Kate, Weston, and Haley had to witness one of their teammates die in their arms. Anne was bleeding severely on the shore, and there wasn't much any of them could do as they didn't really have their med kit, and there wasn't really much around to help her with. And to make matters worse, before they realized it, Kate and the remaining of her team get attacked by the locals, who start taking them out one by one. Kate does her best to fight back, but she gets knocked out by one of the locals, and before anything happens, Kate notices these strange creatures attacking the locals themselves. And when she wakes up, she finds herself in a cave, and she sees this mysterious, scary monster above her, and before it attacks her and slaughters her like the rest, she uses whatever she could find, and she navigates her way out of the cave. As soon as she made it out, she tries to connect to Weston and Haley, or anybody that may receive her signal, but there was no signal at all, all, even after she made it to higher ground. But just before she gave up, she gets an incoming video call from her captain, who had a very difficult landing and broke his leg, and he gives her coordinates to his location, and Kate informs the captain that they're not alone on the planet, and that there are actually indigenous life forms of two kinds, one of which is a predator-like monster that hunts the locals, and the other, very human-like but still very savage and barbaric. From the coordinates the Captain Hunter sent her, she realizes that he's 60 kilometers away, but the terrain was very difficult to navigate, and Kate had to now figure out how to survive in an environment that she's never been at before. The captain tells her to be vigilant and to find edible plants that she can eat, and to take a couple days to get there as she doesn't know what she's gonna encounter. And as time went by, Kate tries to grow accustomed to the new environment and makes makeshift weapons, sleeps in caves, and finds berries and other fruits that she can use for sustenance. She tracks her captain's vitals from far away and tries to make it to him before his heart gives out, or he bleeds out or gets infected from his broken leg. And after she made it a few kilometers through the deserts and survived, she encounters the locals as they were having some kind of discussion about how their leader was no longer good enough, but Kate accidentally makes a sound and they spot her, and she had to run away into the caves to avoid capture, but there was one of the locals who seems to have followed her all the way there, and after he engages her in a fight, he disarms her, and instead of killing her or doing anything, he just lets her run away. But even though he took mercy on her, the locals have surrounded that area, and Kate realized that she had to take out all of them if she's ever gonna make it out of there alive. And after a very thrilling and dangerous fight, Kate manages to take down her attackers, and she takes their provisions and weapons, and she goes back out again in search of her captain. Even though she ran as much as she could and took a lot of dangerous shortcuts and climbed a lot of cliffs, she barely put a dent between her and her captain, and that was making her feel really guilty. At night, as she was resting, she speaks to her captain and asks about his condition, and Hunter informs her that it's kinda difficult for him to breathe now, and even though he patched up his wound on his leg, he did lose a lot of blood, which could contribute to him passing out and dying real soon. In the morning, Kate realizes that she was still 49 kilometers away, and the life rate of her captain was deteriorating real fast. The surprises don't stop showing up for Kate as she encounters a horse, and at first she thought it was a threat and she was gonna shoot it with her bow, but instantly she encounters actual threat, which is the apex predator of the land, and she uses all her fighting skills and techniques that she's learned on the ship to take down the monstrous animal. She then approaches the very majestic horse, and she's read countless stories about horses, and she approaches it and the horse approves of her, and she was able to mount it and head to her location. Because of how fast the horse was, she was able to make it to her captain in time. Then doing a full body scan, she figures out that not only did her captain break his leg, he also punctured a lung. But that wasn't really important at the time, as he informs her that she needs to go to where the beacon of their ship is and send a distress call to their mothership to be able to get reinforcements. On her way there, she encounters the monsters again, and she uses her bow to take out 3 of them. She then gets to the wreckage of their ship and activates the beacon. But when she reports back to her captain, he gets abducted by one of the monsters. Going back to his location in order to save him, Kate encounters one of the monsters again, and they engage in battle. And just when before it got the best of her, one of the locals that actually disarmed her and let her go last time gets there just in time and saves her from the clutches of the monster. But before he could talk to her or tell her what's going on, she tries to get away, but gets hooked up in one of his traps, and even though he cuts her down and didn't want to hurt her, Kate still engages him in a fight. And apparently, he understood what she was saying, and it was this old language that his people used to speak. The mysterious man introduces himself as Rogan, but what he didn't realize was that Kate didn't really care, and she stabs him on the side. He tells her that he knows where her friends are and that he can take her there, but if she lets him bleed out, there's no way that she's ever gonna find them. She then stitches up the very attractive local, and it was apparently his horse that she took and was riding to get to her captain, and he informs her that he's actually looking for his daughter that got taken by one of the monsters, and he's been tracking Kate all this time because she's the only one that made it out of their cave, and he wants her help to help him him locate where the cave is, and in exchange, he'll also help her find her friends who are also in the cave, as the monsters take people in there and feed on them for days on end. He tells her that they call the monsters demons and that his wife died at the hands of one of them, and the only thing he has left now is his daughter, and he's willing to do anything to get her back. And in a surprising twist, Kate discovers that they're actually on Earth, and that these demons that he speaks of are people who stayed underground after the sun became too hot to live on the surface. But after years of living underground, one tribe of people got to the surface and found out that it was livable, and the rest that remained turned into those demons that hunt them now. Together, Rogan and Kate get to the caves, and inside, after taking out some of the demons, Kate finds the captain and Weston and another member of their team who was severely wounded and died on the spot. And next, Rogan still had to locate his daughter who was in the cave system, and Kate scans the area using the device on her hand, and they make their way to where she thinks his daughter might be, and there they find her hidden behind one of the rocks. As all of them try to make it out of the tunnels, a small earthquake hits, and the group is separated. The captain and Kate get to the opening of the cave, but Weston and Rogan had to navigate around the cave to get to them. But unfortunately for Rogan's daughter, Kate, and the captain, they get cornered by the demons before they made it out. But thankfully, the captain and Kate use all their training and they take out all the demons. And in a bit, Rogan and Weston get to them and they make it out of the cave, but as soon as they made it out, Rogan had to face down his own people, who were very adamant about killing all the outsiders, including him, if he decides to side with them. But before the leader shoots Rogan, the demons attack again, and in the distraction, Rogan, Kate, and the captain fight back, and the leader dies from his own dynamite. Even though they were still surrounded by most of the locals, Rogan gives a speech about how their laws need to change and how they need to evolve as a people, and they accept him as their new leader. And as our movie comes to an end, and after weeks of waiting and sending out the beacon, we see the mothership entering the atmosphere, and Kate's team and reinforcement finally making it home.